What's going on, everybody? It's Joe. Welcome to the channel. I'm excited to talk a little bit about Bitcoin today and why I think having 0.25 of a Bitcoin, 1/4 of a Bitcoin, is the magic number. If you can somehow acquire 0.25 Bitcoin, I know it just keeps getting harder and harder, but I do feel like that is the magic number. Obviously, if you can acquire more than that, um, by all means, I think the more the better. But if you can acquire 0.25 Bitcoin, I think you're going to hit the sweet spot and hit that magic number. But overall, a pretty slow day in the crypto space. I think everybody is just waiting for that strategic reserve to get announced. Everyone's just kind of sitting back, waiting to hear if President Trump is going to announce anything, if there are going to be any executive orders signed, if there's going to be any new news there. And it is just kind of pretty steady. Like, nothing's going up a lot, nothing's going down. I think you saw a couple of different currencies like XRP shoot up a little bit, but then they came right back down. So it's just kind of been a pretty steady day. So let's kind of take a look at that. Take a look at a few different posts that I saw today that caught my attention. And then we'll go over why I think having 0.25 Bitcoin is that key number. So let's take a look here. We got, as you can see, looking at these prices, everything is like barely moving. For the most part, everything's within 1% in the last hour. Everything's within like 2 to 3% on the day. Nothing's really moving much. You got a few like Sui 4.3 down, Stellar down 4.3, Hedera down 6, Solana up 3, Ethereum up, down 2.6. Everything's just kind of steady. And for the crypto space over the last couple of weeks, that's been kind of not familiar. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And there's been at least one coin that you see shoot up every day or shoot way down. But today's been kind of pretty steady for the most part. Like I said, I think that's due to everyone's just kind of waiting around, waiting for Trump to say something, say nothing. And I think today was just one of those days. Looking at this, there's been some rumors today that Trump's going to announce Bitcoin strategic reserve today, which would result in a huge pump. I've seen a lot of posts about that. So I was kind of waiting around to make a video to see if that would happen. Still nothing yet. It could still happen today, but I do think we're getting more and more likely that it's not going to be today and it's going to come later this week. I am still very optimistic it's going to happen, and I'll touch on that in the next couple of posts. But I am still quite optimistic that is coming. There was a lot of rumors today. I think there are legs to that, but I do think they're getting everything under control on the back end. They're making sure everything's in place, because once they do make that announcement, they know the crypto space is going to go kind of crazy. So I think they're just doing their due diligence and just making sure everything's in place before they do that. But I am kind of getting antsy for it. Like, I figured the first day, wasn't too surprised that it didn't happen. But I feel like the crypto community is just ready for that to happen, ready for those words to come out of Trump's mouth. But even though they haven't, I am still staying optimistic. And one of those reasons I'm optimistic, I know I touched on this in a previous video, but with Eric Trump saying there has never been a better time to invest in the United States, bet on our markets, on energy, on technology, and on crypto. Send it higher. Like, the administration believes in crypto, you guys. I am a big believer in that. I'm a big believer that we are going to see those gains come at some point this year. And I think it's going to come sooner rather than later. And I just truly believe this administration wants to become known as the crypto administration, the crypto president. And they're going to do everything they can to make that happen. And I'm a big believer in that. I think he's got the full support of the people around him in making that happen. And I do feel like Trump does value that. And I'm going to touch on that even more here coming up. BlackRock, this was another article that caught my attention today. BlackRock just made their biggest Bitcoin purchase of this year, $600 million worth of Bitcoin. The Trump effect is real. So that's not insignificant. I'd say that's pretty significant. Companies are getting ready. They are investing. They are buying. And I think everyone's just kind of preparing for that announcement to take place. Everyone's quite optimistic that it is coming, and they are taking full advantage of this opportunity before the price goes up even more. This is not financial advice, but I do not know how much longer it's going to be around 100,000 for one Bitcoin, as I do think as soon as that announcement takes place, it's going to shoot up. It likely at some point it will come back down, but that's just a risk you're going to have to take. Like, how much is it going to come down? When's it going to come down? And I feel like you just get in a big guessing game at that point, where at this point, it's a relatively safe. I don't want to use the word safe, but a lot of people are quite optimistic at this point. 100,000 was just kind of that base price that a lot of people fell in love with. And so I feel like that's just, now's the time. I feel like it's only going to go up with these news, with this administration, as more news comes out, as more developments take place. And I just feel like this buying at 100,000 isn't going to be something you can do much longer. Again, not financial advice by any means, but that's kind of my take on it, and why I think the sooner the better, and why I'm going to get into that a little bit coming up. And then I got one more thing that kind of caught my attention today that makes me feel that Anthony Pompliano went on Fox Business today and was kind of talking about Bitcoin, and he mentioned, you guys, that 50% of Donald Trump's net worth is now in crypto since that Trump meme coin came out. 50%. That is an absurd amount. He is well aware of the impact crypto has in this industry, in this market, and on his net worth. That is not 50% of his net worth is a huge number, you guys, and I guarantee you he is well aware of that. He's going to do what it takes to maintain that. He's going to do what it takes to make it advantageous to himself, and Pomp kind of touches on that a little bit, so let's go over that here. We'll just watch this for a little bit.
In your opinion, what would be the ideal way to regulate crypto?
Well, I think there's two different things. The SEC's got to get clear rules in place. Obviously, Bitcoin is through the regulatory threshold. I think it's very well accepted. It's not a security, and investors are going to continue to buy that asset and hold that asset. But there's a whole nother plethora of assets that exist in the market, and people want to know, are these securities? Are they not? How should they be treated? The second thing is not only regulation, which this crypto task force is focused on, but also what can Donald Trump do to further push this forward? More than 50% of his net worth is now in the crypto market. And so obviously he's paying attention to this. But I think there's three things. They can repeal SAB 121, which would allow banks to hold these assets and make it more safe for people. The second thing is that we can establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve and have the United States government now buying Bitcoin in the market. And then the third thing is we should change the tax treatment of these assets. Right now, if you buy goods or services with Bitcoin, even though it's a currency, you still pay capital gains tax. And so removing those three things, I think, would really be a tailwind for the industry as well.
Are you a fan of the strategic Bitcoin reserve? Because the government starts buying and up goes the price, right?
Well, I think that obviously the price will go up. But the more important thing is that the U.S. government currently holds a lot of gold. So do many central banks around the world. And Bitcoin is pristine collateral. It is gold with wings. And so
Bitcoin
the United States government buying Bitcoin is not only a really big deal for the United States today, but actually the future health of the United States, having an asset like this in its reserves. And I think probably one of the most important parts about this strategic Bitcoin reserve is that it would signal to the rest of the world that this.
All right, so Pump's a pretty big name in the industry. He's got a lot of really good takes, and I liked a lot of what he said in that video. The crypto task force formation is another reason to be optimistic. He touched on that a bit. And the main takeaway is that 50% of Trump's net worth is in the crypto industry. He is well aware of that. He's not letting crypto go anywhere anytime soon. He's going to make different announcements, different plays that kind of benefit not only him, but the country. He is a very, very, very pro-America president, and I do feel like he's going to do different things to make America come out on top. He does know the importance of being first, like the first country to do something like that, to make an announcement. And as soon as that announcement takes place, other countries are going to be scrambling to catch up. And he can see the value in establishing that reserve and what that would do for the country and what that would say to other countries. And then one of the other things that he mentioned in this when talking about that is the tax treatment and removing capital gains tax potentially from crypto, from Bitcoin, and the impact that would have with how much he's been making on crypto and how much of his net worth is tied into crypto. I could definitely see Trump doing something like that where he would remove capital gains tax, and I feel like that would just create an even bigger influx of people coming into the market, coming into crypto, causing prices to skyrocket even more, because people would just be so attracted to an investment like that they don't have to pay capital gains tax on. So I could definitely see something like that happening, and that was another key takeaway from that video. So let me know your thoughts, you guys. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you subscribe, that means the world to me as I'm growing my channel, and it would be much appreciated. I appreciate all of your love and support. All your comments have been amazing as I'm just getting started here. So please like the video. Please comment below your thoughts. And we'll find out what Bitcoin does. But now, going into why I think having 0.25% or 0.25 of a Bitcoin is important, because it can just do so much, you guys, with the optimism around Bitcoin and what I think is going to happen in this administration and all the talk surrounding it and where it's going to go. Having 0.25 of a Bitcoin, if Bitcoin gets to a price of $500,000, which is a 5x from here, it's very reasonable. Like, it seems like a big price, but the more you look at everything that could happen in the space, that's a very reasonable projection in my mind. And you could turn $25,000 today into $125,000. That's $100,000 profit. And that's $100,000 is more than a lot of people make in a year. Like, you can do a lot with $100,000. So if you end up owning 0.25 of a Bitcoin and you profit $100,000, you're going to set yourself up in a way that a lot of people aren't set up. You're going to set yourself up in a way where you can do a lot of things the next few years that you weren't planning on. You can have those business opportunities that you didn't think were possible. And just that extra 100,000 can do so much for so many people. And it comes like 25,000, 0.25 of a Bitcoin a year ago would have been a lot easier to get into, and now it's a lot harder, but it's definitely still possible for a lot of people. So getting to that number, I think, can set you up for success. If Bitcoin gets to $1 million, that's $250,000 you're at with the 0.25. If it gets to $10 million, you're at $2.5 million. And then a well-known guy in the Bitcoin space who almost everyone knows, Michael Saylor, he keeps preaching. He thinks Bitcoin is going to $13 million a coin. Definitely possible if everything that Bitcoin could do ends up happening, if everything President Trump says ends up happening, if all these companies start to incorporate it into their companies, if it becomes a part of the reserves, if it becomes used more frequently, the liquidity, everything that happens, and it gets to 13 million. Owning 0.25% today, or not 0.25%, owning 0.25 of a Bitcoin today, $25,000 could turn into $3.25 million. That can set you up for life. That can allow most people to retire, depending on what age you are and how the lifestyle you want to live. But 0.25, that magic number, $25,000 today, I think is the magic number to get to. Let me know what you guys think the magic number is to get to be set. I'm not saying 0.25 will make you set, but it's going to open up so many opportunities for you and your family that you wouldn't have otherwise had. And at that, it would cost $25,000 today. And for that cost, I think sometime in the next couple of years, you could potentially see these returns. Sometime in the next few years, potentially even the next 4 years with this administration. You just never know. These numbers aren't completely unreasonable. Do I think it's going to get to that? No. Do I think it's could potentially get to $1 million? Yes, I do. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying this is financial advice, but $1 million is very reasonable, and definitely something I think could happen. So $25,000 today into $250,000 can change a lot of people's lives, and why I think that magic number is 0.25. Let me know your thoughts below. Comment below what you think that number is. Let me know your thoughts let me know your thoughts on what you think it could get to. I'm very curious to hear your guys' opinions. And again, please subscribe, turn on those bell notifications. It greatly helps me out as I'm growing my channel. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video.